Gentlemen, a short view back to the past.
But apart from my little complaint, I still enjoy iRacing, and if I see myself building my iRating and race against more clean and respectful races, and possibly going places with it, not gonna lie, I could see myself spending quite a bit of money on this anyway. I've been a member of iRacing for 4 years now, and in that time, I've taken part in a variety of disciplines of racing, ranging from sports car, open wheel, rallycross, and even oval racing. Over the 4 years, I have spent exactly €2,229. I've partaken in a number of online leagues in the service, and even raced for 3 different teams full-time in the past, one of which was Ignia Motorsport, a team that helped me get my foot into the door on the online esports scene, which to this day I am forever grateful to have raced with an amazing team. As for the other 2 teams, which I can't really seem to remember their names for some reason, but that's not important. If you're new to the channel, then welcome. My name is Stuart from SB Simulators, and I welcome you to Honest Reviews, the show that takes a brutally honest look at software and products related to the sim gaming genre, from software like racing sims and flight sims, to even hardware such as racing wheels and flight sticks. All of my reviews are unpaid and free of sponsorship, meaning you will get my most honest opinion here. For my regular reviewers, this review will have a much different format compared to my regular reviews, as this will be a look back of my time on the service and putting out how I feel about it after being a member of iRacing for 4 years. With that, here is my special 4-year review on iRacing. I first took up iRacing in April of 2021 after so much of my time spent racing with AI cars on R Factor 2. At the time, Ireland, along with the rest of the world, was facing the COVID-19 pandemic that caused huge disruption and changed everyone's lives dramatically via lockdowns and travel restrictions. At the time, I figured I was going to be stuck at home for at least a few more months as I started competing in a league on Assetto Corsa at the time, where I met a friend that managed to convince me to sign up to the service through a discount that iRacing was offering at the time for newcomers. Then, on the 6th of April 2021, I had my very first race in the surface, where I competed in a Mazda MX-5 race at the Summit Point circuit, where I finished P3 on my very first outing as a rookie, getting my first ever podium on iRacing and surprising both my friend and myself at the time. Looking back at it, I was in split 8 out of 16, to which I had no idea how splits work on the service up until much more time was spent playing iRacing. Then, just 12 days later, after 5 races, on the 18th of April 2021, I got my very first win at Alton Park, again while racing in the Mazda MX-5. That win promoted me up to D class at the time, where I started racing in the Ferrari 488 GT3 series. Ever since then, I picked up an additional 7 wins. 6 of them were in the now retired road license, while 2 of them were in the sports car license, along with getting on pole 9 times throughout the early days of my membership on the service. When I played iRacing for the first time, I was really impressed with the handling and physics on the sim. I was using a Logitech G29 at the time, so force feedback was very limited. But I loved the handling of the cars at the time, and I still do to this day. Now that I own a direct drive wheelbase, more specifically a Moza R9, I was getting even more detail out of it than I was before. I would be feeling the wheelbase react to changes in elevation and bumps, along with the car reacting to curbs on the side of the track. One slight downside to iRacing is that the cars are more prone to spins than in the other sims that I tried. This is because iRacing uses a 60Hz frequency for its handling model, which was implemented when the service was launched in 2008. However, technological changes within sim racing over the last 17 years since then has rendered it being outdated by modern standards, as newer racing sims such as ACC, LMU, and R Factor 2 uses handling models that go up to 360 Hz. Fortunately, iRacing has a dedicated fanbase going for it, and third-party software has been released over the years to help increase the frequency to 360 Hz and provide more detail to the users of the service. Okay, let's be real here. Iracing isn't the prettiest looking racing sim on the market. The graphics are quite outdated by modern standards as it was developed on much older hardware back in 2008. They have made improvements to it over the years though by updating the textures on existing tracks as well as rebuilding older tracks that have been around since the sim was first launched, along with minor improvements by updating shaders, shadows and other textures such as trees, grass and water. As of August 2025, they are currently working on a new graphics engine that is supposed to overhaul the existing one and even introducing support for DLSS. So if you have an RTX series GPU or if it's equivalent, this will be something to look forward to. I can forgive the outdated graphics on the sim though, as the handling model is what sold the most for me. To be honest, Iracing isn't very demanding when it comes to system specs. According to the website, the minimum specs recommended is a 4-core CPU processor as well as a more budget-friendly GPU such as a GTX 1060 or an AMD 570. Me personally, I run the software on an RTX 4070 GPU with a 12-core processor and can get up to 240 FPS, which is the same as my monitor's refresh rate. This depends on my settings as well as the amount of cars there are around me when I'm racing, or if I'm running any third-party overlay software like RaceLabs or iOverlay. During my 4 years on the service, I did experience freezes at least 3 times during races, but that was more of a problem with my PC settings rather than the software itself. However, I have rarely experienced any stuttering throughout the 4 years that I was on the service. For me, the competitive aspect of the sim is the best thing about it in my opinion. I have really fond memories on a lot of my past races on the service, purely because of how close the racing was at the time. I have often felt the most competitive on iRacing than I did on any other racing sim in the past, purely because I am matched with drivers of similar skill level to me, thanks to the rating systems on the service. To recap my previous videos on iRacing, the sim uses 2 different rating systems called iRacing and Safety Rating, which is designed to match with drivers of equal skill for a race containing a high level of participation by putting them into separate splits, so it keeps races fair for everyone. In short, iRating matches your skill level and increases or decreases based on your past results in previous races, while the Safety Rating shows how clean and safe you are as a driver. While both systems can be a bit flawed at times, it is generally a good system to have in place in the service, provided that other people in your split can drive, of course. Sadly though, the sim does have a few glaring flaws with it. Unless you're happy enough with the free content of the service, it will require a lot of financial investment to get any fulfillment with it. iRacing is a subscription-based service, so you will have to make regular payments to keep using the service, which in itself wouldn't be too bad if you didn't have to also buy license for the cars and tracks on top of all that. Cars can cost up to $12 or €10 per license, while tracks can cost up to $15 or €13 per license. To be fair, I get why that is the case, as iRacing themselves are licensing new cars and tracks for the sim, as well as constantly developing the sim and maintaining the service for it. Don't get me wrong, I'm not complaining about it or anything like that. I'm merely just advising you what to expect if you choose to take out a subscription for the sim. If you're someone who is often busy working and don't have a lot of free time, or you're somebody with very little financial freedom, then iRacing would probably not be the sim for you. Fortunately though, there are other racing sims on the market that are more accessible and don't require a subscription to play. Sims like Le Mans Ultimate, Assetto Corsa and even R Factor 2 would be perfect examples of that. With the current season patch comes the newly refreshed in-game user interface that was introduced as part of the 2025 Season 4 update for iRacing. However, to be perfectly honest, it isn't a whole lot different from the legacy UI, as it feels more like a texture reskin of the old one rather than a brand new UI built from the ground up that it was originally hyped to be. Despite that though, the new UI feels much easier to navigate around than the old one, and it feels more organized and tidy than the last one. One particular noteworthy improvement is the graphics settings. In the Legacy menu, the graphics for both replay and driving modes were split into two different boxes, which I did find that to be a bit confusing on a few occasions. However, the new UI puts them both in the same window as each other, making adjusting the graphics a lot more easier than it did before. Overall, iRacing is an excellent racing sim and my go-to for online racing, including endurance events like the Nürburgring Endurance Championship, which is my favourite endurance event on the service, purely because Nordschleife is my all-time favourite track to race on. Taking part in 4-hour endurance events is something that I always look forward to the most. Even though there is no sign of iRacing slowing down anytime soon, it'll be interesting to see how it stands up against more modern sims such as Le Mans Ultimate, as well as Project Motor Racing, which is set to release in over a week's time from now. So long as you're willing to invest time and money into the sim, iRacing can provide you with some of the best simulation on the market, and well worth picking up if competitive online racing is what you're after. So that concludes my 4-year review on iRacing, and it's definitely a lot of fun taking a trip down memory lane and looking back to when I first started back in April of 2021. A viewer during one of my live streams actually suggested that I should do a review on the Season 4 patch of iRacing. So I thought of something even better, to do a review on the Season 4 patch, but also to look back on my time on iRacing and to see how I feel about it to this day. And to be honest, even though I'm not particularly fast on iRacing, I did feel like I've accomplished a lot on the service during my 4 years. Currently my iRating sits at a modest 2103 in sports car class, which is something that I am personally happy with myself. What the future of iRacing holds for me is relatively unknown, but I'm confident I'll be able to accomplish a lot more on the service, despite any potential shortcomings that I will have during my time over the next few years. So I thank you now for taking the time out of your day to check out this review, and I hope it was helpful for you in making a decision whether if you want to subscribe to iRacing or not. And until next time for some more racing, flying, and rock and roll, take care and goodbye.